Hey guys, Fletch from All Things Overlanding here. On today's very special episode, I'm going to be comparing my 2008 Nissan Frontier that's fully built, armored, Titan swapped on 35s to my buddy Eric's brand new Ford Maverick. If you follow this channel for any time, you know that I've ordered a Maverick, but I'm not going to get it for a few months. So I wanted to put them side by side and just kind of talk about the differences between these two trucks, the different uses as far as overlanding goes, which is what I'm into, camping, off-roading, whatever you want to call it. And just kind of give you guys the pros and cons of each one, because they both have their pros and cons for sure. So let's get into that. All Things Overlanding is brought to you by some fantastic companies. You should definitely check out the description and click through their links to see all the awesome stuff they offer. Companies like Red Arc for all your overlanding power management needs. Last US Bag, tons of amazing quality overlanding bags. Rugged Bound Supply Company, rooftop tents, awnings, roof racks, and more. The More Expo 2022, get your tickets below. And Northology Overland, guided overlanding trips and a free overlanding magazine. Alright guys, so let's start with the Frontier. I've had this truck for just a couple months now. It actually wasn't running when I bought it, and we've gotten it fixed back up. I took it to Kentucky, as you can see from the mud on it. Got it a little bit dirty. We hit some great trails on the Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway just a couple weeks ago. On the way home, actually, and I haven't really talked about this a whole lot, but the truck started to throw a check engine light and have some issues down on power. Whenever I hit high RPMs, it would kind of shut down the truck. So I'm actually working on that this week to get that resolved. I think it has something to do with O2 sensors, maybe injectors. We're not 100% sure, so we've got more work to do to it, right? But so that's what happens. You can see from the front here where this mud line is, right here is how high the water was at some of the points that we went through water crossings. So maybe a sensor got wet. Like, no idea, right? But that's kind of the risk that you take when you do these kind of trails. If you are more of a weekend warrior type person, if you are the type of person that goes and hits up some gravel roads in your local national forest, this is kind of overkill. So, I mean, being honest, you know, the pros of this thing are it's super capable, right? So this truck is Titan swapped, which if you're not familiar with Nissan stuff means that it actually has all the underpinnings from a full-size Nissan Titan 1500 truck underneath the front. The rear is still stock Frontier stuff with spacers on it to try and compensate for that extra width. And then it's on a 2.5-inch lift with 35-inch tires and a significant amount of cutting done to the bodywork to make those fit without rubbing. So, you know, there's a ton of modification that had to be done to this truck. It's got custom steel bumpers front and rear with a swing out, which makes it even longer than it already is. This is a really long truck. It is body on frame, which is really nice. So you get that extra flexibility, you get that extra strength. You get the ability to lift it to this degree because it's not a unibody like a Maverick is. But with that come a lot of trade-offs, right? So some of the cons are bad fuel economy. These 4 liters in these Nissan trucks are great, torquey motors. I love them. They're very reliable for the most part. This one does have 212,000 miles on it. However, I get about 13, 14 miles to the gallon if I'm lucky in this thing. On the highway, I might even get less because of the wind drag with all the stuff that I've got strapped to it. So again, for like, if I had to drive this truck every day, I've had historically 2 vehicles, and that's kind of allowed me to have this truck and something else that's more reasonable. But if you don't have that and you're daily driving something, this honestly is not a great option. Again, it's really big, it gets bad gas mileage. It's actually pretty comfortable on the road. I won't say that it's horrible. If you have like some real like MT tires on it, you have a lot of road noise and things like that from your tires. You know, there are a lot of pros and there are a lot of cons. If you are going to be hitting a lot of tricky trails, a lot of hardcore off-roading stuff, if you have an off-road park and you like to go actually just test your truck a lot and go to off-road parks, something like this may be a good option, but you're going to have to deal with those trade-offs on a day-to-day standpoint. So that's kind of the Frontier. So let's hop over to the Maverick and talk about some of the pros and cons on the Maverick. All right, guys, so this is the brand new 2022 Ford Maverick. This one is my buddy Eric, so thanks to Eric for letting me sort of show off his truck today. This is a hybrid Lariat, so the top trim, and it's a first edition. You'll notice the kind of the graphics on the hood, on the side here, the sunroof. There are a few options that came just with the first edition. He pre-ordered back in June. It is now the middle, almost end of January, and he just got his truck a couple weeks ago. So he was very patient, had to wait for a really long time to get this truck. But I've been driving around in this thing. I've ridden around in it a little bit. I had never driven one of these things yet, and I'm waiting on mine. I don't even have a production date for mine yet. But I can tell you after riding in this thing today, like, I'm super excited about this truck. And there are a few reasons. So let's talk about pros and cons of something like a Maverick for overlanding versus, you know, the big fully built Frontier. So definitely pros. Again, this one's a hybrid, so it gets, you know, 40 plus miles to the gallon on it. Mine's going to be the 2.0T motor, which is a required option if you want to go to the FX4, the all-wheel drive package, which I do want. Comes with some I'm sure they're going to be really light duty skids underneath, but again, I'm just going to be hitting gravel roads and doing like soft roading weekend stuff with that. So again, that is a perfect option for that. And then it's also going to be more my daily driver. So a Pro is really approachable from a driving standpoint. The size of the vehicle is really, really small, so if you have to park like downtown in a city, it's going to make that easier. It's got a lot of nice tech on it, like backup cameras and things like that. Some of them, mine will not have this, but some of them have all this sensing stuff and automatic cruise control and things like that to make your commute easier for you. So a great daily driver. Even in the 2.0T trim, people are reporting like 25 to 30 miles per gallon on that thing if you're easy on it. So you can still get great gas mileage with it. As far as comfort goes too, you've got built-in CarPlay, Android CarPlay, Apple CarPlay, all that stuff is built in. It's a comfortable truck. It's built on the Bronco Sport chassis basically, so it's built off of a unibody SUV, so it's got a ton of interior space, more than my truck. We were actually just looking at them and comparing them. Even though my truck's so much bigger, it's actually much tighter on the inside, especially in the back seat, than it is in this thing. This thing has a ton of space. So if you've got kids, if you're taking friends and stuff, that's a pro of this truck as well. Also, the fact that it's got a bed on it, mine has a bed too. They're about comparable height, but because of the way that mine's built out to be like an overlander, like hardcore, I want to go on trips for like a week at a time, I can't really use my bed with that rack on there and the rooftop tent. I could throw some firewood in there or like small stuff, but I can't even really get lumber or anything like that. I just don't have room. In this truck, it's really smartly designed. I'll show you kind of the back of it here in a second, overlapped over top of this, but it's got some really nice features built into it, like ways to put 2x4s in and build shelving or separators. It's got power options back there. It's got built-in lighting. There's a ton of really nice things that make this really usable on a daily sort of basis, or even for like a light, soft-roading, weekend warrior type vehicle. It is independent suspension all the way around, so it's not got any solid axles. In the Frontier, it's solid axle in the rear, and then it's independent front suspension. That limits it a little bit, but with that rear axle being able to flex, it gives you more capability off-road. So again, this is not what you're going to want if you're, tackling crazy trails in Moab or some of the stuff that you'll see in like a Kentucky or West Virginia that are really, really challenging and require a lot of flex. But like for me in Indiana, again, most of the time, and that's my buddy Eric and I were just talking about this, 90, 95, 98% of the time we're driving our kids to school or to soccer practice, right? If I get lucky on a weekend, I might be able to go on a single night, overnighter trip, or I could take a hammock with me or a tent or something, throw it in the back of this thing, get, twice the gas mileage on the way down with nicer tech, with, it's brand new, so I'll have more reliability. And I can still go do the same thing. It may not be quite as built out as the Frontier, but you could go crazier with this too without being too crazy. And that's probably where I'm going to fall, somewhere in the middle on this truck when I get it, is it will have some built-in stuff so that I've always got access to the things that I need to go camping and to make my trips easier to get out and go. But it's not going to be nearly as built as that, but it'll be a great daily driver. So again, pros of this truck: great gas mileage, super comfortable. It's brand new. It just came out, which is really nice to just have a new vehicle that is reliable. The cost is really low on it too, so even compared to used trucks like that, this thing base model is about 20 grand. Even the way that I optioned it out is around 30. So that's a pro. And just usability, right? Like the fact that it's a very usable vehicle is a pro. Only cons really would be it's just not going to be as capable off-road. And that's pretty much, that's kind of all I can come up with. And you guys know I'm a Nissan guy through and through. I love my truck, but I'm really excited about this Maverick too. So again, I hope that was helpful to kind of give you guys the comparison between the two. Definitely a use for both, which is why I have a Maverick on order. So I'm going to have both. I'm going to show you content on both. I'm going to show you the crazier trips where we do crazy stuff. And then I'm going to show you more of like the soft roading, gravel, exploration type trips in the lighter duty Maverick. So anyway, so that is kind of pros and cons on the Maverick. All right guys, so that was the sort of comparison between the sort of fully built dedicated trail rig versus, a more like soft roading daily driver style truck that you take out when you can. I hope that info was helpful for you. I hope that you learned something. If you have questions, if I got anything wrong on either of these trucks, feel free to post up in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to click that subscribe button, click the bell to be notified when new videos drop. Also in the descriptions are links to all my featured partners, great companies with awesome stuff. You should definitely check them out. And then last but not least, Facebook, Instagram, podcast if you're watching on YouTube, YouTube if you're on the podcast. Definitely check those things out. There's also a Patreon page now that I've got. It's a really dedicated group of, kind of weekend warrior, budget-minded overlanders. So I'd love to have you in that. And then a newbie overlanders Facebook group. So definitely check that out as well. Totally free to join. Almost 2,000 people in it now. So it's growing like wildfire. So again, thanks for watching. Hope that was helpful, and we will see you guys soon.